Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. I am here today to review another Beavis and Butthead episode. As you guys know, yesterday somehow there were two episodes or one episode that came out, because I'm a little confused about, did two come out last week? Hopefully not. I reviewed the second yesterday. I'm reviewing the third one today. So I am here to review Beavis and Butthead Reboot, aka Season 9, Episode 3, Roof and River. I was a little bit underwhelmed by this episode. I thought that there were some really funny moments. I think my favorite part was definitely the first story, the roof one. I thought that the music videos and the reactions to the online things, I thought that they were a little weak this episode, to say the least. I didn't really laugh at those very much, except for the Post Malone one. And then the second story was pretty weak as well. I mean, it was pretty... It felt like a segment of a movie rather than an episode of the show. It reminded me a lot of how in Beavis and Butthead Do America, they get trapped in the desert and, they don't think they're going to survive, and it's looking really bleak. To me, this was like the polar opposite of that, where they're trapped in the middle of the ocean by the end, or the middle of a big, I don't know which, I don't know where the river was or where it was heading, but it looked like they were in the ocean at the end. And so it kind of made me feel like, if they had done this in Beavis and Butthead Travel Around the Universe, they could have used this sequence as like a contrast with the first movie having the desert sequence. So anyways, the roof story was pretty funny. I mean, it was classic in the way that, first we get to see Mr. Anderson again, which is awesome. Secondly, they kind of doom themselves, and both of them have a part in doing it. First, I can't remember which one throws the hearing aids away, but hearing aids and a crystal bowl get delivered, and one of them or both of them, they both decide to throw these stupid headphones away that don't work. Those are the hearing aids that probably cost thousands of dollars, by the way, because I know someone who had to get hearing aids. They were like $4,000, and so they throw those away, which was classic. And then they take the crystal bowl and they want to drop it off the roof. I was kind of like, is this going to just turn into an episode where they go on the roof and they throw a variety of things off of it, and it's like, oh, ha ha ha, they keep on throwing different things off the roof. And then instead it turns into like where they get trapped on the roof essentially, and they have to keep on like trying to get down in certain ways. And so I really liked that. And my favorite part was at the end, when Mr. Anderson comes home and these stupid idiots, they threw away his hearing aids, and so he's not going to be able to hear them. And I thought that was that was just so hilarious, and it was so perfect. It was like, they really, that was a classic little thing where the characters, they doom themselves. And they do that a lot in Hitchcock movies and a lot of classic movies. They doom themselves. Sort of like in Pulp Fiction, which I hate that movie, by the way. I know that'll make some people go, ugh, but I hate that movie. God, I hate that movie. But the part where the two guys, they're gonna kill each other, they see each other in public, Bruce Willis, and then was it like Wallace or something? The other guy, because they had to start trying to kill each other, that's how they get caught up by that other bad guy and the fucking rapists at the pawn shop. And so it's like these characters, whenever they doom themselves, it's always, it's a lot of the times it's so much better and so much more entertaining, because you can really see how people make choices, and the choices can, really easily put people in a bad place. And I've made some stupid decisions sometimes, well, a lot of the times. And you can just see, like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or, and I look back and I can easily see, like, wow, I really made the wrong decision there. I should have done completely the opposite thing. And then also, Butthead basically screws it up for Beavis, too, in the sense that, he punches him, and then he knocks Beavis over, and that knocks the ladder away from the roof. And so that screws them over even more, and that leads to the whole thing where Beavis gets brain damage, and he thinks he's in kindergarten again. And then he knocks the ladder off the roof again, and, they're screwed. And the episode ends with a particularly interesting moment where they're sitting on the roof at nighttime, and they're looking over the place that they live in. I can't remember what. I know they live in Texas, but I can't remember which city. And it kind of reminded me of King of the Hill, when the characters sit on the water tower and they look over Arlen. It reminded me a lot of that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I liked that. And so obviously they do not get out of it. And then in the second story, they don't get out of that one either. So I thought that was interesting, how in both stories they get trapped in a situation and then they don't get out of it. But both stories were kind of, I don't know, the more and more I think about it, the more and more this feels neutered down. Last episode, I thought it was really funny, but it had a couple of places where I was like, ugh, this is really watered down. Like, this is clearly a 2022 Beavis and Butthead adaptation. This episode felt even worse, but still, I would say that the first story was worth watching. It was definitely the funniest one of this episode. I give Roof a B or a B plus. And then they did this Post Malone music video, and that was pretty funny what they said about that one. It was definitely the funniest joke of the episode, probably, was when they said that, oh, look, he finally found a woman who can't say that his music sucks, because this woman had her mouth, she didn't have any mouth. They like CGI'd her mouth, or they put a latex appliance on top of it to make it look like she didn't have one. I thought that was pretty funny, because I would say this is the first time I've ever heard Post Malone sing, and oh god, this is why I don't listen to modern music. This is why I stick to movie soundtracks particularly. I listen to 80s stuff, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s stuff. Little 90s maybe. I don't really listen to modern music, if you can even call this music. It was really kind of cringeworthy. In fact, I thought that it would have been funny if, instead of continuing to react to the real music video, I thought it would have been funny if they would have parodied it, where Beavis and Butthead tried to sing a song the same way that Post Malone does. I thought that would have been clever and funny, to see them like in a medieval setting, and to see what they would have done with all those situations, like with that girl who's like washing her hair or something, like really weird. I don't care, whatever the fuck that is. The second half, River, was interesting because it's another thing where they kind of doom themselves, where they can't get into the pool. They just want to go to the pool so that I guess they can go to the bathroom in it, and so they're on a list of known urinators, and so they're not allowed in. And then they see these girls floating along this river, and they jump in on like a log or like a piece of wood, and you can imagine what happens from there. It is just okay. It wasn't anything like, There was this one part, though, where Beavis says, "Oh, look, a gummy worm," and then he gets a fishing hook caught in his mouth, of course. And what was interesting was there was this guy fishing, and he looked almost exactly like a grown-up Bobby Hill would look from King of the Hill. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. In fact, I thought it was a total missed opportunity to just say that that is Bobby Hill. And in fact, you could have had that be like, that would have redeemed this story. That would have made this story probably a B plus or a B at least. You know, that would have taken it up a notch from the grade that I'm going to give it after I finish talking about it. There were a couple of funny things with that, but it was just all kind of expected. It was just all kind of, you know, exactly what you'd think would happen when they're in the river and they're floating along. And then, of course, you have the ending where Butthead thinks that there's a rescue ship coming, and it's just a little toy. And I just love it whenever Beavis goes like, or how do you do it? Like, he just, it sounds so funny because it sounds like, you know, he's just going to do something stupid. Like as soon as he does that, and then he picks up the toy ship and he plays with it, and then he puts it back in the water and it drowns. And that was pretty funny, but and then they're still stuck there at the end. There wasn't anything clever to have them get out of it. So that could have been another thing, too, is that, honestly, let's rewrite it, okay? Let's have that be Bobby who's fishing. Bobby sees that it's actually two people who are on a plank of wood, and he calls his father. And he's like, "Dad, what do I do? What do I do? I lost my fishing rod, Dad." And he's like, "Damn it, boy!" And then later on at the end of the episode, this would have been perfect. Okay, sees the toy ship, and Butthead thinks that that's the rescue. And then on the other side, you see Hank, and he's on a ship of his own. He's on a little boat of his own. It's like a homemade raft or something. Because remember, they homemade rafts in that one episode of King of the Hill. And Hank comes and rescues Beavis. And they leave behind Butthead to play with the toy ship. That would have been a better ending. I give this episode a C+, though. I do think that there are some funny moments that redeem it from being like a C-. But still, it was just kind of meh. Compared to last episode, those two stories were much better. The problem that I had with the second half, too, was the reactions to the videos. First off, you had this video where this girl was doing like a dirty job where she cleans out pipes, and she's putting a camera down there, and so they kind of make a comparison to getting a colonoscopy, which I also know someone who just got a colonoscopy last Wednesday. So that's pretty funny. The thing that I was kind of like, okay, was because this was like a crew of 3 women, and they were all wearing these like funny looking colorful suits, like work suits, and I thought that, God, I am just waiting for them to make jokes about, like, you know, the fact that, you know, sexist jokes, racist jokes, you know, any of those kind of funny jokes. And instead they don't. And they just talk about, like, I can't even remember. Like, I didn't really think that was very funny. I was just like, oh, God. Like, another huge missed opportunity. And then we get to the biggest one where they do like a parkour video. And there's this weird thing where like Beavis thinks that Paris, France is Houston, Texas. And so he keeps on trying to convince Butthead. He's basically trolling him. And he's trying to convince him that it is Houston and not Paris. And I was kind of like, why? Like, I just didn't get it. Like, why is Beavis so intent on believing that it's Houston? There wasn't really any reason for it. There wasn't really any clear motivation for him to think that it's Houston. You know, honestly, I thought it was just to distract from the fact that, you know, they could have made some really good racist jokes in this video. And I think that it was, once again, a distraction from that. You know, I could have come up with a couple of jokes. I don't want to because I'm not the writer. And so I don't want to, I don't want you guys to, think I'm just, you know, going to write over everything because it's what I want. I'm just giving suggestions and saying, you know, clearly this was another missed opportunity. There were a couple of funny moments in it, though, you know, I guess, but it just, both of those videos just felt like more missed opportunities, more moments where I was like, okay, this is clearly 2022 Beavis and Butthead. And I thought that was unfortunate because it kind of brought down the second story a little bit for me. It kind of it brought it down more because there weren't sexist and racist jokes like they would have in the old show back in the 80s and 90s, because that's part of what made the show good. And if you take away anything that makes the show good, it's automatically not going to be as good. I mean, that's common sense, right? What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They did the same thing with Twin Peaks, where they had this stupid excuse where they're like, well, obviously Twin Peaks can't be the same as it was in the 90s. And so they did The Return, and they made it so incredibly different from the original series. One of the biggest issues with Twin Peaks The Return was the fact that in the original series there was a ton of music, and it was such entertaining, warm music, like it was comforting music, like that jazzy background music to make you kind of feel like you're at home, even though you're watching a story about a dad who rapes and kills his own daughter. Oh shit, I just spoiled Twin Peaks. But it was great music, and it always accompanied sequences in the whole series. Or you'd have the you know, you'd have the dark music. You'd have the moments where you hear the wind go, and you'd know that some dark shit is about to happen, or you'd know that these characters are going to be in danger in a couple minutes. And in the new series, guess what they did? They took away the music. And so basically, the only music would be at the end of the episode where there'd be some fucking random group playing at the Roadhouse. And it would just be some random song like, or there was that one episode where they did a Viva Las Vegas, but it was like a cover of it, and it was just like, God. But they took away all these things that made the show good, all these things that people loved about the show, because of their excuse that, like, we can't make Twin Peaks the same as we did in the 90s. And so all these fans quit watching the show because it's like, you don't take away things that made something good. And with Beavis and Butthead, to circle on back to Beavis and Butthead, this episode, it was just another one where you could feel like this is not the same show anymore. Like, this is not really the same show. It's not the bullshit about overstaying your welcome. It has nothing to do with that. anti-creative mindset that these shitty modern TV creators have. No, it's just the fact that they took away something from the show that made it funny and made it special and good. And when you take away things that are good, it's not going to be as good. It's just as simple as that. It's logic. So I give this episode overall a B-/C+. Please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of the episode. Do you agree with me saying this is like the worst one so far and it was a little overwhelming? I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it was a little underwhelming, not overwhelming. That's a completely different review. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more Beavis and Butthead reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.